Welcome to Ladies Talking Love, episode 76, 3 Reasons You Don't Feel Desire. It's Ladies Talking Love, a community of women uncovering more joy and fulfillment in sex as we learn from experts and amazing women like you. Together, let's create a world where women's sexuality is celebrated and understood, beginning with our own. I'm your host, Ariel Finlinson. Let's talk love. I just want to remind you that this is your very last chance to sign up to attend my live free masterclass. I only do this twice a year, and we're going to dive into 4 myths that prevent many of you from creating the deeply connecting and fulfilling sex life that you deserve and that you want with your husband. You're going to go away from this 1-hour class with 4 keys to improving your marriage and your sexual relationship. We're going to talk about that you actually have desire and what it looks like for you. We're going to talk about that the way you view your husband's sexuality is probably inaccurate and it's hurting your relationship. We're going to talk about one of the main reasons why many women don't enjoy sex and the answer to fix that. And the last thing is that we are going to talk about how often as women, when we give and give and give, so much so that we lose ourselves, it actually hurts our relationships instead of creating the deep relationships that we want. You're going to be blown away how easy and comfortable it's going to feel to talk all about sex, and you're going to feel inspired to start creating the deeply fulfilling sexual relationship that you desire. This masterclass is for you if you're ready for deeper love and connection in your marriage. It's for you if you're tired of feeling unfulfilled. It's for you if you feel like you don't have desire. And it's for you if you want to love sex more. At the end of the masterclass, I will be introducing my signature course, From Pressure to Passion. But even if you decide that it's not the right time for you to invest in the course, you are going to go away with great tools and knowledge to get you started in creating a joyful and fulfilling sex life. So pause the episode, go to ladiestalkinglove.com/masterclass to save your seat and start learning to love the sexual relationship that you can create with your husband. But without further ado, let's talk love. Well, hello, friend. I was just thinking about how wonderful it is to get together with other women and talk about important topics. So thank you for joining me today as we are diving into talking about 3 reasons why you may not feel desire. The first reason that we are going to talk about is that you don't enjoy sex. If you don't like the sex you're having, you're not going to want more of it. And so one of the first things in looking at your desire is recognizing, do you have sex worth having? Is your sexual relationship with your spouse something that you enjoy? Is it something you would want more of? Because if the answer is no to any of those questions, then you're not going to feel desire to be sexual with your spouse because it's not enjoyable. And while I don't believe that the only purpose of sex is enjoyment, that is a huge part. I believe it's through our pleasure and through our ability to allow our partner to know how we receive pleasure and what we want, that's one way that we can show up authentically and allow them to know us and for us to know them, to be seen and to see. If you aren't enjoying sex, what are some things that you need to change? Do you need to figure out how to orgasm? Do you need to learn what feels good in sex, where you feel the most pleasure? Are you only having intercourse? Because as research shows us, most women cannot orgasm from intercourse alone. That doesn't mean that intercourse can't be a great part of sex, but most women report that some of their favorite sexual activities are something other than intercourse. Or maybe you're not enjoying sex because you feel pressure that it's your job to have sex with your husband to keep him fulfilled, to keep him satisfied. And so it's become a chore and it doesn't feel like it's really about you. Sex can also feel really disconnecting if we are emotionally disconnected from our partner. A lot of times we separate what's happening in our day-to-day life from sex, and we feel like that sex is just a different part of our relationship. But everything that's happening in your day-to-day life and your relationship is going to follow you into the bedroom. So if you're feeling frustrated with your spouse, you're feeling like you're not being seen or heard or valued as a partner, you're not going to want to connect sexually with them. There was a really great pastor who said something to the effect of, when we undress emotionally, it makes us want to undress physically. And so that emotional connection is a huge part of enjoying sex and actually feeling the deep satisfaction and connection that sex can bring. And so in order to have sex be something that you enjoy and something that you want, we need to make sure that your sexual encounters are something good, that it's something you would want more of because it fills you up, because it's pleasurable, because it's deeply connecting, because it's full of love, because it's a place for you to show up authentically and be accepted and be seen and loved despite all of your flaws and imperfections. The second point I want to talk about is probably one of the most critical reasons why women don't feel desire. And it's the fact that most of us don't actually understand desire. We have one definition for desire. We've grown up seeing desire as something that is spontaneous. It's something that just falls on you, and either you have it or you don't. But Emily Nagoski talks about in her book, Come As You Are, that arousal comes before desire for everyone. So just because someone seems to have spontaneous desire for sex, this actually means that there's arousal happening before it reaches that threshold. So what does this mean? This means that their desire threshold, that moment after arousal starts, and when they feel like, ooh, I would like to have sex with my spouse, is lower than someone who has what is often called responsive desire. Both people with spontaneous desire or with responsive desire need arousal in order to reach that desire threshold. But spontaneous desire has been prioritized in our society. It's been shown as what's normal, especially because most men are the ones who have spontaneous desire. Women can also have spontaneous desire, but stereotypically, men are shown as the ones with spontaneous desire. And according to the research, they are usually the ones who experience spontaneous desire more often. But when you understand this, that everybody needs arousal to reach that desire threshold, it can help you change how you understand desire. It's not something that just randomly falls on people with spontaneous desire. There's arousal that gets them there. And so if you find that you aren't feeling desire in the moment that maybe your partner who experiences spontaneous desire has experienced enough arousal to feel desire, what that means is that you need more arousal. It doesn't mean that you have low desire. It doesn't mean that you don't have desire. It doesn't mean that you don't like sex or you don't want to have sex or you don't love your partner or you're not attracted to them. It doesn't mean any of that. It means that you haven't had enough arousal to reach your desire threshold and then have you feel desire and have you feel like you want to engage sexually. And so depending on where that threshold is for your desire, depends on when you are going to feel desire by how aroused you are to reach that threshold. Someone with spontaneous desire may see their spouse get out of the shower, may give them a kiss when they get home from work, and it's like, ooh, I would love to have sex with you. Someone with responsive desire is probably going to need more than that. And so if the person with responsive desire is maybe the stay-at-home parent, they're probably going to need a break from the kids and some time to regroup. They're going to need consistent time during their week to have to develop themselves and have a self and feel like they are in charge of themselves. Because sometimes as a caregiver, you feel like your time is out of your control. Everyone is needing everything from you all throughout the day, and you almost feel like you don't have control of anything because you're being needed all the time. And so they maybe need a break. They need more arousal. This can be physical, mental, emotional arousal to reach that desire threshold. And whether that's a man or a woman who's experiencing responsive desire, you can find what will get them aroused enough to reach that desire threshold. And this is a key ingredient when we understand that it's not that you don't have desire, it's that you haven't learned how to access it yet. That opens the door for you to start to discover what arousal you need in order to reach your desire threshold. So if your partner is ready to engage sexually and you're not, you can figure out with them and work with them to say, hey, I'm not ready yet, but I'm open to it. So let's find out what it's going to take to get me there. Or if you already know, you can do what you need to do to get into the mood and move your arousal up to that desire threshold. And for the spouse who has spontaneous desire, this is important to recognize and to learn about each other and learn where your desire thresholds are and what you need in order to reach that threshold. Now, the third thing that we're going to talk about today is not the last thing. We could talk about a lot of things that can affect desire, but I think this is a really important one, especially for women, and especially for women who are maybe caregivers to young kids or aging parents. And that is that you may be doing too much for everyone else. We have grown up in a society where women are encouraged to look outward and to serve others. And even though that is a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful for that, often it is taken to an extreme where women are the ones expected to shoulder all of the housework and childcare. They are the ones expected to notice things and to recognize other people's needs, to the effect that sometimes they don't even know how to notice their own needs anymore, and they don't even know what they want. And often, in order to help meet the needs of everyone else around them who they're noticing what they need, they suppress their own wants and desires. And I'm just going to tell you a quick story to illustrate this. And if you've been around for a while, you may have heard this story before. But there was a time I made rolls, and who doesn't love a good, fresh, baked roll out of the oven? And my kids loved them. And so they wanted to eat more than their share. And there was one roll left, and they wanted to eat it, but I hadn't had one. And the guilt started to come up. I thought to myself, well, I guess if I'm a good mom, I should just let my kids have it because I don't really need this roll. But I was learning about self-silencing and about not recognizing my wants and desires. And so I held my ground and I said, I actually want this roll and you have already had yours. And so I'm going to eat this one. And that seems like such a small thing, but I think if you look in your life, you might recognize these moments where you've done similar things, where you want something and it seems small, but over and over and over again, when we're constantly giving and not acknowledging that, hey, I actually want that roll, we are going to get so burned out and suppress our desires so much that you're going to feel empty because you haven't valued yourself. You haven't valued the inner voice inside of you that is saying, hey, I would like a treat sometimes too. And it's not okay for me to just always give it to my kids. It's actually powerful for your kids to see that you prioritize yourself as an equal human to them. How do you take care of yourself when you need a break? We often want to give our kids room and space and give them the best that we can give them, but we don't do that for ourselves. And if we can't do that for ourselves, they aren't going to have that modeled for them how they can take care of themselves when they're adults. And here is the huge irony of it all. Research about self-silencing has found that because women value relationships, they often sacrifice their own thoughts, their ideas, their wants to keep the peace and to keep the relationships strong. But the irony is that in self-silencing and actually silencing who you are preventing the deep relationships that you want because you're not showing up authentically. And this often shows up in sex. Instead of prioritizing your own pleasure, you are judging your pleasure based on if your partner's satisfied and focusing on them instead of recognizing that your pleasure and your fulfillment and your connection needs to be prioritized as well. And it's not selfish and you don't need to feel guilty about it, but it's going to take practice because a lot of us have grown up believing that to be a good wife and to be a good mother means never taking any time for ourselves and giving everything we have to them to make it better. But you're actually going to be a better wife and a better mother when you have a self and you value yourself and you show that by valuing your wants and your needs and choosing to give and to serve, but in a way that still allows you to have a self and to show up as an authentic individual because you know who you are and you're not going to sacrifice yourself to preserve relationships because you actually want deep relationships. So you're going to show up authentically to create those deep relationships. And I know this was a very quick overview. We are going to dive into each of these a little bit more in my free masterclass that is happening this week. It's your last chance to sign up to come to the live masterclass. But just to recap, the first reason that a lot of women may not feel desire is that you don't actually enjoy sex. The second one is that you don't understand desire. And the third one is that you may be giving too much of yourself to everyone else. So go to ladiestalkinglove.com/masterclass and save your seat. I'd love to have you join me for my free masterclass. Everyone who shows up live will get a free download that has a fantastic, fun date night activity that will help bring you closer together to your spouse, kind of lean into the discomfort and connect on a deeper level. And I will be sticking around for a Q&A for as long as you have questions coming in. So don't miss coming and learning with me and asking your questions. I am so excited to help you start to recognize how you can bring your arousal up to actually feel desire and for you to start to create an authentic and meaningful sexual relationship with your spouse so you can receive the joy and fulfillment that you deserve in sex. As always, thanks for talking love. Thank you to all of you who listen and join me on this journey, and to our Ladies Talking Love team who make the podcast possible. Thanks to our sound wizard, Kimberly Demers, and our miscellaneous task whiz, Melissa Havertz.